Morning, Oj. Episode 123, Studio 1. Here we are again. Beautiful another day. Only 6 to 8 inches of snow dropped on us.
Yeah, a casual, well, that's what life up here is. It's a casual 6 to 8. Yeah, there was some nice drifts in the yard. I enjoyed crawling out the rack and throwing the flannel and the chuck on and moving some snow right off the bat today. It's a great way to get your Sunday rolling, I'll tell you that.
Man, Sunday fun day starts with the snowblower.
Damn right.
All right, Oj. College football. And I'm going to start this right now and tell you I was way off. I thought all those games are good. The scores are going to be under defensive battles, and boy, I couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah, and it's showing in my DraftKings account also. I had them both being unders. I thought they'd be, especially first half, I thought it'd be, feeling each other out a little bit and grind them out type games or whatever. But, yeah, totally wrong. I guess we start with Miami Ole Miss right off the bat, game one. That was Friday night. One hell of a game. No, that was Thursday, sorry.
Thursday night,
That was Thursday night,
yes.
Sorry. One hell of a game. It was outstanding. My take on it was Miami was the better team. I thought they, pretty much controlled things up front, but all of a sudden, there they were trailing by 4 points at the end of that game. Somehow Ole Miss hangs around, and the quarterback makes some plays, and next thing you know, Miami's got the football down 4 with whatever amount of time it was, and they needed Carson Beck to come through and lead them. I mean, that's the dream scenario, right? You got the team, you got to head down and take them to the end zone to win a game, not a field goal, and he did that. Kept it himself on it wasn't a designed run, but got in for the game saving or game lead touchdown, and like I said, it was a damn good game.
It sure was. I thought Miami would win that 17-10, maybe something like that. But Ole Miss played well, and credit to those guys. I mean, they've been through drama. I mean, there's more drama there than there is in Genoa City on Young and the Restless these days with the coaching stuff like that, and really like the way the new coach at Ole Miss has handled things. His team, his young men have obviously responded really well, and they gave Miami all they could handle. And they literally had a shot on the last play of the game.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, Miami had 10 penalties in that game. They didn't exactly play a clean game.
Correct.
And somehow still got through that. And speaking of the penalties, before we get to the end of the game, what in the hell is going on with these targeting calls? Can you explain it to me?
No.
Can you give me? I'm so sick of this. I mean, there's a kid now that got tossed.
Right.
And he can't play in this next game. In the national title game, gets tossed, and I don't even think that was that bad. I didn't think it warranted him getting thrown out of there. I mean, they have a ref up in the booth working with these guys to help decipher what's going on. Wasn't there a call earlier in that game that they were reviewing it, and I believe this guy, the ref that's working for the TV booth, said that it should be targeting in his view. Well, they review it, the officials review it, and they come back and pick up the flag. So even the people in the booth don't even know what the hell is going on. And then later, this kid gets called for targeting. He gets tossed out of the game, and now he can't play in the national title. Please, Crouchy, explain to me what the hell is going on with targeting.
Okay, I think the intent of it is good, right? To stop people from taking shots at people, right? Receiver comes across the middle, you just take his head off, right? I think that is what the intent is. And I don't think anybody would argue that the intent is good, right? I mean, in this day and age, taking the shot, the Chuck Cecil shots and things like that are gone. But we got to do a better job of when the person carrying the ball makes a move or changes levels or spins. I'm looking at targeting as like you catch a pass and you're standing straight up, and I come in and put my helmet under your chin. But if you start trying to juke me and duck, and I get you, and all of a sudden my helmet hits you, or we hit helmet to helmet, I think we gotta have a little better feel for the situation there. And the one I think you're talking about, the guy caught it and was going down and spun back, and I just don't think that is what the intent of it is. Was it physical? Yeah, it was, but I just don't think. I think we got to have better feel for the situation. I mean, those guys are playing. The speed of the game is incredible, and making those decisions. I don't think the intent of the guy that got tossed was to take the guy's head off. I think he was coming in for a physical hit, try and jar the ball loose. But I think there's a gap between the intent of it and what's being enforced.
When you get, to me, it's just there's confusion with the color commentator, the play-by-play, and the official in the booth. They're all confused on and differing in their opinions on what's going on with the call, and then it differs from the actual call on the field. So it's driving me nuts, is what it is. I really, they got to come up with a better way to deal with this. And there's probably plenty of calls that warrant an ejection and somebody having to sit the next game. But I certainly don't think that was one of them. So that's a tough break for that kid. But anyway,
I think the simple thing is just have some feel for it. If it's a football play and there's moving parts, and we go, if I come in and just put my head down and take your, under your chin, that's different than you spinning around and all of a sudden you spin back in and my angle has changed and it just so happens that I get you with my in the head. So I think there's a way to make it better, but it is what it is right now, and it sucks.
Yeah, it certainly does, and that was a big loss, obviously, for Miami going into the national title game.
So let's stick with that, right? Before we get to the last play, I got a question for you, right? So Ole Miss is on defense right before Miami scores, right? Ole Miss is up 3, and there was a minute, 2 minutes, a little bit of time left.
I think they were up 4, right? Because they had to score the touchdown. Miami drove down and scored the TD.
I thought it was 3.
Maybe it was. Anyway.
Because the one thing that was odd to me was Ole Miss started calling timeouts to try.
You're right, because they did go up 7, and then Ole Miss had to score the TD at the end.
So Ole Miss is up 3. So a field goal ties it, and they're calling timeouts, and that's kind of allowing Miami to run the ball instead of having to throw it. And again, it's whatever your coaching philosophy, but I think they helped Miami out a little bit by a field goal ties it, you go to overtime, but they gave them extra time, I think. And again, I don't know. I guess I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, Carson Beck put together a big time drive when he had to, so you got to give those guys credit on that. But the timing of it, like you said, it ended up giving Ole Miss some time, and they made the most of it. I guess the first question I want to ask you before we get into this final play, and this kind of came up on a few texts, what yard line, what distance do you think there's a cutoff for a Hail Mary or an actual play to the end zone?
Midfield. Let's just start at midfield.
So anything in front, if you're throwing a 45-yard pass, it's not a Hail Mary.
Yeah, because you can still throw a pass, right?
And the reason I say that is, it's a little bit different as far as what you run. Running certain plays that are designed other than just going back and trips to the right and chucking it up, right?
Right.
So this play to the end zone was about a 40 plus yard.
I thought it was like 30,
35,
30,
whatever. So that was the play to the end zone. It's a Hail Mary in that they have to throw it to the end zone. They got to get it down there. I mean, I guess you can catch it and run it in, but for all intent and purposes, that's what it ended up being. A throw to the end zone to try to win the game. And the controversy comes from whether or not there was pass interference. My thoughts on it are, yes, it was pass interference. And you look at it from two different angles. The one angle that you see from the side, it looks blatant defensive pass interference. You look at it on the other side, you can make an argument for offensive pass interference because there was an arm extended, although the defender had him by the jersey, right up by the neck. So it was pass interference. The question though is it pass interference in that situation? And I cannot remember a play. Tell me if you can. I can't remember a play in football that I've watched over my lifetime where pass interference has been called in that situation.
I'm with you 100%.
I just don't ever remember it, and I didn't know this. I thought 15 yards, the collegiate rule.
Yeah.
That ball goes to the 2. Did you know that?
I did not. I thought it was 50. Why would it? Because it was in the
end zone.
In the end zone. Okay, I can see that.
And I didn't know that, and I got that.
I should know that, I guess.
I got that on Mad Dog Radio, and somebody was questioning that, and then they said, or maybe Mad Dog was questioning it, and then they went and checked it out and came back and said it is. So that would have been first down the 2.
I guess the intent there is that if the guy beats you in the end zone, it's going to be a touchdown. And you just knock him down. You should be penalized more than just 15 yards.
So where does it get to the point where you have to make the call and not just put your flag away? The argument then, what we'd be discussing would say, well, what the officials, they called that game. The officials, they were the ones that were the direct result of their call was what won the football game or lost the football game, and not the players, So that'd be the argument. Let them play, right? The officials should not make the call in that situation. I don't think they ever have. So when does it become a blatant enough penalty where you got to make the call?
Well, if that play had happened in the third quarter, it would have been pass interference, right? Mm-hmm. And again, I'm all for physicality with the defensive backs. Defensive backs get screwed. I think we all know my perspective on this, right? DBs, they get screwed on everything. I'm all for the defensive backs getting away with whatever they can. But in this situation, the guy literally had him inside the collar, via the neck, was pulling on him, which if that was, and again, you're not running a Hail Mary in the third quarter. So if that play was in the third quarter from the 35, 40-yard line, they went downfield, that would have been called pass interference. Now, the other thing with that is it doesn't guarantee Ole Miss wins.
No.
It just gives them one more play, right? So they would still have to score. I guess if I had to make the call right now, you got to throw the flag, I think. Now again, if you're 50 yards down, you're just throwing it up to the rafters and hope it comes down and everyone's going for a rebound. That's different. I think it was pass interference, and the fact that he had his hand inside the jersey, I think, is the telling factor there.
Yeah, and his arm was extended on it. Like I said, the other angle, you could have made a little bit of an argument for offensive pass interference because there was enough contact there. But I agree. I think it was worthy of a flag. It certainly doesn't guarantee anything, and the argument is always about the officials in those situations.
Right.
Let the players on the field decide the game. Well, by not calling it, the officials are still getting involved.
Yes.
Right? There's two ways to look at that too. So.
Where would there be more argument? If they would have called pass interference there, would there be as much debate about it?
It's kind of mellowed out right now.
It has. I don't think there's too many people that think it was not pass interference. The argument is whether the situation.
How can you possibly call interference in that situation?
Yeah,
right?
But it wasn't really a jump ball like we see in all the other ones.
No,
it was a 35, 40-yard pass. So, well, I guess the other argument is win the game in the first 3 quarters where it doesn't come down to that.
Ole Miss had a chance to stop Miami in that final drive, and they did.
If they don't call timeouts, is Miami kick the field goal to tie it? They don't have as much time. It kind of changes. So I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts there. Again, you go back and you look at the end of the game, but there's a lot of things that happened prior to that. Like you mentioned, Miami's penalties. How many the penalties they had. How much did that help Ole Miss stay in that game? But anyway, great game.
It was. In the end, I think the better team won, and is going to the national title to face.
Our newfound friend.
Holy moly! I don't know what else to say about this. It is the greatest coaching job in my lifetime, and maybe in the history of college sports. Am I going too crazy by throwing this out there? What this guy has done in a 2-year span,
and the way he's done it.
Yeah, it's impressive. That game, you come out. You kidding me? The first they pick 6 them right off the bat. to go up 7-0.
Well, did you see how excited he was on that play?
Yeah, exactly. Then Oregon goes down, puts together a beautiful drive to answer, and I go, okay, here we go. And then it was lights out. I mean, just absolute lights out. Indiana just dominates from both sides of the ball, on both sides of the ball. Mendoza is, he's damn good.
He is.
What was he, 17 out of 20? Just efficient, no mistakes. Christ, they said that when they played James Madison in mid-September or whenever it was, they fumbled the football, lost the fumble, not once since. Not once.
I like that.
I mean, that is pretty impressive. I don't know what else to say. They are damn good, and Miami's got some work to do to get ready for this. It's impressive as hell how they're doing it. Zanetti's a beauty. You hear his post game.
Oh yeah, that just climbed up our favorite list there too. But the one thing and again we've mentioned this in the previous weeks, how he's growing on us. I like the way he doesn't get too excited. He could show a little bit more emotion. It's pretty exciting, but I think the whole demeanor of the team is kind of a reflection of him. Like they don't get too,
right.
The Indiana guy runs over the Oregon guy, hands the ball to the ref. He's not standing over him talking trash, and they just go about their business. They're more physical than everybody they've played. They're just very methodical in how they do it. They're going to do what they do, and they're not going to get too high. They're not going to get too low, and I think that is a reflection of our new friend.
Yeah, for sure.
So here's the question: when he said, when they asked him, "Are you going to enjoy this?" and he goes, "I just want to crack open a beer." What kind of beer do you think he drinks? There's no way he's an IPA guy.
I'm gonna go. I would say probably just right to the king of beers. I think he's a Bud bottle.
You think so?
Bud long necks. That's what I'm going with.
You know what? I think I'm on board with that.
Here's a stat for you: Fernando Mendoza in the red zone over the last 2 seasons. You ready?
I am.
37 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, 8 rushing TDs.
You can win a few games.
You can win a few games with that, right? I'm trying to look at some other stuff I had for you here.
Yeah, he really has been. He has been fantastic. He's not just a game manager either. He does a hell of a job managing the game, but he puts the ball where it needs to be.
Oh, for sure.
And it is to his advantage too that he's upright most of the game too and not getting knocked around a lot because their O-line and D-line are fantastic.
Yeah, well, it's should set up for what I would hope would be a good game. Miami's got that ability to slow games down to their speed by just pounding away with you. I think that's what they're going to want to do, right? They're going to want to get in behind that O-line and let Carson Beck make plays when he has to, but they don't want to put him in any situations against that pass rush that Indiana brings at you where mistakes are going to happen. So I think it's going to be a big dose of those running backs. And the problem with that theory is Indiana can play that way too.
I know.
They can do that and be just fine. So I don't know. It should be fun. We got to wait a little while though. It's a week from tomorrow.
Is there a delay in
There's
these
a
games?
little bit of delay. Shocker. There's another funny little. Speaking of I was talking about the NIL, and he's like Carson Beck, an 8th year senior or whatever the hell he is. So that Malachi Toney, that talented little slot receiver that they have,
yeah,
he was. I might have sent you this, but he was 11 years old when Carson Beck was a freshman in college. So now he's throwing to him, but.
So that's like a senior in high school going playing football on the playground with the elementary kids.
Yeah.
So who are you taking?
Indiana by 14.
You think so?
2 touchdowns. I don't even know what the spread is yet. It must be out there.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against Indiana right now. Are you taking the under?
I'm not touching that. But we should find out. I got the ability to do that here.
Well, you are a technological guru.
Yeah, I'm a guru. Let's just leave it at that. We'll go. All right, college football.
I'm gonna say Miami Indiana 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah.
Well, they don't even have it. Sorry for the delay. Just keep talking, Croce. You know, you don't want to bore people here.
Okay. College football. They also. I don't think we talked about this, but how about the national title in Division III in Wisconsin?
Is that River Falls?
River Falls. That was actually a really good game. That was a great game to watch. River Falls has been kind of a doormat for many years, and the guy that's coaching has been there a long time. So that was a nice win for River Falls again over North Central, who's arguably the premier D3 program in the country.
Yeah. Did you watch that, or what did you say? You watched the whole game?
Yeah, well, pretty much most of it. That was a really good quarterback for River Falls. Is pretty talented.
Yeah, believe it or not, I can't find.
Okay, well, we'll just go 7.5.
It's unbelievable. I got all these props on there, but
Okay.
it'll come up at some point. Yeah, so that leads us to the NFL.
Yeah. Before we get into any games and stuff like that, we're our picks. I'm given my concession statement, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
I had a little late rally to make it interesting, but in the end, you got
Getting
me.
a steak. Yep, that's that'll be a well earned, well deserved steak. I'm fairly certain Jickie's not going to cook it, but we'll be looking forward to that down the road somewhere.
Yeah, we'll take care of that. We'll have to do that when the weather warms up and fire up a grill. You want to go with NFL games or the ever spinning coaching carousel?
Well, let's talk a little bit about the coaching carousel. Let's start.
John Harbaugh getting fired. Give me a break. I was over at your place when that news came out. What are you going to get that's better than him?
Yeah, it's.
Give me a break.
The more I've heard or read on that situation, it sounds like it might have been more of a mutual deal. I think Harbaugh might have been a little fed up, a little frustrated with Lamar toward the end. I'm not saying the relationship was shot, but you know, there was just some things that went on during the course of the year that that they had mentioned about a couple of press conferences where his comments about Lamar being sick, just more, you could just see that he was a little bit pissed off at what's going on, at what he has to deal with. And Lamar missed quite a few games this year. I heard stuff about, a little bit different treatment, Lamar sleeping or coming in late to some meetings, different stuff like that going on. And it's 18 years, a lot of success, but if stuff starts happening like that, maybe it was a mutual, departure for both the organization and Harbaugh to get out there and get a fresh start. But you're right. I mean, I don't know how you improve or who you get to improve. It's funny though, that game determined the coaching fate of both those guys, because if that field goal kicker makes one, Tomlin might be
one. And we're having the same exact conversation.
Right.
The college game, there's a lot of coaches changes, this and that, but the NFL, when you get a guy that is a leader of men, I believe is what we call him, you ride that thing until you can't anymore. And I just don't think that it's a good move by Baltimore. Again, I'm a John Harbaugh fan. I think he does a good job. I think he's a great leader in there. Do you need a different coordinator here and there? Whatever, but you got to make it work. And if you're the owner and you're gonna, because it did come across as he was fired, right? It wasn't that he stepped away. Who are you getting that's better?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously somebody they got to try to think they can get the most out of the Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry combo. But Baltimore, they had some tough losses the last couple of years. I think last year it was that Mark Andrews drop.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
He catches that ball, they could be going back to a Super Bowl. And then a couple of years ago, that Zay Flowers fumble going in. Remember that? It was like, I debated on where it was, if he bumped, if he got in or didn't get in. So they had to deal with that. Now this year it's the rookie kicker, because their pervert kicker was is not in the league. So they got this rookie that blew very makeable 44-yard or whatever, and that's where he's at. So I'll give you some interesting John Harbaugh tidbits here in a moment. Stuff that I got from Shefty.
I love when you give me tidbits.
Yep. Stuff I got from Shefty on the way here. You'll be interested to hear this. So the other one then, I think that came a little late and I thought was interesting, was Mike McDaniel. I tend to agree that it was probably time for him to go, although they did seem to be playing hard for that guy at the end of the year. They had some positives, won a few games. So maybe he deserves or does deserve some credit for that. But I found it interesting that their meeting, which seemed like it was going to be just a meeting to evaluate what happens going forward with the team, ended up being a mutual parting of ways right after Baltimore fired John Harbaugh. So if John Harbaugh is still coaching Baltimore, is Mike McDaniel still coaching Miami? That's one thing I'd like to throw at you. But I'm not done yet.
Okay, tidbit number 2.
And I guess this will lead us right into the game.
I know where you're going with this. I saw Shefty's tweet on this
You
today.
saw this?
I did.
So there's a couple things there that surprised the hell out of me. All right, and number one, that John Harbaugh has a relationship with the son of the ex-Packer president, Bob Harlan.
Yep.
And as Shefty explained that, he talked about how he's a Midwest guy, Midwest family, right? Obviously, their dad goes way back. The Michigan tie goes way back. Jim Harbaugh has a cottage or house or whatever property in Tawas area. Shefty explained to us how John Harbaugh, has a home in the Upper Peninsula.
Really?
Yes, which is where we live.
But it's probably like Tequamanon Falls or something like that.
Oh, I don't give a shit where it is. He's a freaking Youper. And if you're a Youper, you're only 4 hours from Green Bay. Midwest ties.
Well, if you're
in
the eastern UP, you're more than 4 hours.
That's true.
But regardless, we're on board now.
So I don't know. I'm not a huge Matt LaFleur fan, but I don't know. If Green Bay fires Matt LaFleur, they're in a really interesting spot there. This president now, this policy. LaFleur's got 1 year left.
Yes. Well, that was brought up last night, which was not the right time to bring it up.
No. 1 year left. So I don't think you can't put this coach into a lame duck season. That creates a lot of uncertainty and a lot of talk, and it'll never go away, right? So that can't happen. So Green Bay's either sitting at extending him for 3-4 years or whatever, pay him this, pay him that, extend him, or depart. And I think John Harbaugh would be one of the few people that would be an upgrade over Matt LaFleur. I don't think there's a ton of upgrades over Matt LaFleur out there right now. I mean, you're going to fire him and bring in Cliff Kingsbury or somebody? You know what I mean? So
Josh McDaniel?
Yeah. For his third or fourth round of trying to be a head coach. Mike McDaniel, maybe he ends up being an offensive coordinator. I know right away there's Lion fans that are hollering about that, but it's pretty interesting that all this has come down now, and of course we wouldn't be talking about LaFleur and the potential opening for Green Bay if they could frickin' play a little second half against Chicago, play a little football, and not get just outworked, out-hustled, out everything. That was my take on that game. That's a bad frickin' loss. I mean, they were 21-3 Crouchy, and you had McManus out there to kick a field goal to make it 24-3 at half, and you're getting the ball to start. He misses that field goal, and I think Green Bay went 4 straight possessions where they were 3-and-out. And the next thing you know, and I don't even think that Williams didn't even play that well. He had two stupid ass pass interference. Sorry, two stupid interceptions that he threw. Just dumb plays.
Yeah.
But there they are. Now you got their Bears coach yapping in the locker room saying F the Packers and Chicago is moving on. So explain it to me. Give me your thoughts as a Packer fan. What in the hell happened? They've been outscored 60-something to 10 by the Bears in the last 2 second halves.
I'm not even angry anymore. I'm just flat out disgusted. It's the way that season started with that win against Detroit and how well they played, and then even when they weren't playing great, their defense was playing fantastic. And to see the demise of them at the end, and again, the injury bug, I get it. It's unfortunate, but like I said, it's utter disgust. We'll talk like the end of the game there. Well, first of all, they miss an extra point. Come on.
So did he miss 2 field goals?
He missed it in the fourth quarter. There, he missed an extra point and a field goal.
And then he missed the field goal at the end of the first half.
But the field goal, let's go back to that, is the Packers, before that, they got a delay of game. That's inexcusable. And I'm not, and I'm going to put some of that blame on our quarterback. Like, you got to have more urgency in the situation, right? It's not the third quarter. It's the end of the game to tie it, win it, whatever. And again, you're changing play, but you got to have some urgency, and you cannot take a delay of game at that point. That 5 yards, does that change that field goal? You know,
Yeah.
I don't know the physics behind it, obviously, but you know the thing. It's a lot like our golf shots off the tee. It starts out right where it goes, and then it kind of keeps fading. The delay of game is absolutely inexcusable. The kicking is what it is. Your whole livelihood is dependent on some guy's leg, right?
Yeah. I mean, McManus, can you imagine how he's feeling today?
Yeah.
And it's a team game. You know, all the it's tough on those guys. And now that, instead of celebrating a win that he probably should have had, he misses a couple of shots. Now it's whether or not your coach is going to get canned. Yeah. I mean, that's the life of the kickers. But I'm still in shock. I haven't.
Well, the Packers, they had a couple chances to make some plays there. The receivers didn't help out. Again, tough catches, but you are an NFL receiver. As far as LaFleur goes, I like LaFleur. I think he does a great job calling plays. I think the quarterback has to play with more urgency. I think he's just too, I don't want to use the word lackadaisical, but maybe methodical. Like, he's got to have some urgency. I mean, you look at the scheme of it, guys are running wide open more often than not. Like, I think the scheme is good. I think LaFleur calls a good game. But there's a disconnect between him and the way Love performs at certain times. Again, he looks like a superstar at times. He really does. But just to go back to the Harbaugh thing, I think that had a lot to do with Miami getting rid of Mike McDaniel. And I don't think you get rid of LaFleur. I just don't. But I wouldn't be surprised in this day and age. The Packers typically.
Then you got to extend them.
Yeah, you're 100% right. You can't. You got to get him a 3-year deal at least, whatever. But I got to be honest. The end of the season, from where it started, has been bad.
Well, they've lost 5 in a row, right? They lost 4 straight going in,
and they lost 2 to the Bears in the same capacity. I don't know. I hate to see guys get fired in that, but I understand the frustration as a Packer fan, the frustration and just watching the demise over the end of the season.
I had to go over yesterday, and so my dad was just beside himself, pissed about this whole thing having to be on Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah,
right. This 8 o'clock is enough. That drives him nuts.
Yeah. With
his sleep schedule, but then the fact that it's 8 o'clock and on Prime really set him off. So I said, all right, if you're gonna stay awake, you want to watch this game, I think I can hook you up with Prime. So I went over there yesterday, saw the remote. He had the one remote with the Prime on there. I clicked on it, blah blah blah. It's a 1 month free membership, trial, whatever. Got the code.
Oh, God.
The tech guru that I am, technology guru that I am, I pulled this off in about 5 minutes. Well, the next part of it then was, this is at 4:30, was whether or not he was going to be able to remember with these different remotes how to get from regular TV, because he's watching Carolina and the Rams at the time, over to Prime Video to watch the Packer game. And then the next part of that was whether or not he's actually still going to be awake. So, sure enough, I got very little texting from him after 7:30. I said, put that game on now. I got a thumbs up, and then nothing until this morning where he's just, going off on the Packers and blowing the game and his disgust and this and that. But the other side from my dad, about 3 weeks ago, I'll go back and show you, I won't now, but he sent me a text. It was after the Green Bay loss to, doesn't matter, one of their losses on the way into the playoffs, right? He sent the text, he was pissed off at LaFleur, and he said, the next Green Bay Packer coach is going to be John Harbaugh.
Really?
And he goes, probably even be next season. And I replied back, I said, well, you do realize it would take 2 firings for this to happen. And he goes, I get it. Well, one of the firings has already taken place. I didn't think that would happen. He's out there, and now
there's discussion on. Do you think he could help us with? Does he know the lotto numbers?
So anyway, that's a brutal loss. We'll stay tuned for all this coaching stuff. It's just craziness. There's some good coordinators out there. Cowboys did not get in the playoffs again this year. I'm not sure you're right.
They must have got beat.
Yep, they just lost out again this year. So we'll see what happens with their defensive coordinator search. And I got to throw something else at you real quick. Are we ready to move on?
Oh, absolutely.
So the last couple of weeks we've commented about what a machine our Michigan Wolverine basketball team is.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
First of all, they got lucky to beat Penn State
I
earlier
watched
in the week.
I watched that game, yes.
18.5 point favorites or whatever they were in there. They lucky to win. And yesterday they allow Wisconsin to come in there and win in Ann Arbor. So go Sparty.
Yeah.
I'm off that Michigan bandwagon.
Well,
Jesus.
I mean, teams have film. Everybody's got good coaches. They have players on scholarship
You're
too.
in the conference. I mean, it's tough. Those games
You knew it was going to happen. I didn't think it would be Wisconsin at home. I thought it might be more on the road, like the Penn State. They were lucky to get out of there. You figured Michigan State's going to grind on them when they play. And
I forgot about the game actually with the start time of it, and then here comes the Judd sends a little group text out there about whether or not I'm going to bet on the game, take Michigan at minus 19.5. And I went, well, absolutely. Thanks for the tip, Judd. So I put some cash on Michigan minus 19.5. Right there, Judd.
Oh boy. Other interesting story in college basketball. Just when you think you've seen every possible way to lose a game, Chicago State took it to the next level. Did you see this?
Well, I didn't until this morning when I got here. I checked it out quick. Jess from Appleton helped us out with this.
Well,
He has. He's been. He's almost like part of our people now in the background with some of the stuff he's come up with us to help us get through these ridiculous podcasts. But that was a blunder. So why don't you explain it?
So, and again, I hope I get the teams right. It doesn't really matter, but a team was up by 1 point. The other team had the ball with 1/10 of a second left, which you can't make a shot, right? You can't. You gotta need 4/10 of a second, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So the game's over.
Right.
And
length of the court too, correct?
Yep, length of the court. So they would literally have to throw a dart towards the rim. The guy just tap it in, which.
Yep.
And lo and behold, and again, I don't know if it was a player or the coach.
That's the one thing we couldn't see on that.
Yeah, Chicago State. They called timeout. First of all, why do you need to call timeout? Just put your guys in the opposite corner, get out of the way. There's no way you can lose. They called timeout.
At least Chris Webber did it in the heat of the moment.
Yes.
Going down the court, but this is a dead ball situation.
With 1/10 of a second, like you cannot lose, and they called timeout, and they didn't have any timeouts. therefore being assessed a technical foul and lost the game.
Yeah, we got to find out. We got to get our people on that and find out if that was a coach that did that. First of all, his assistants need to, they got one job to do, and that's let them know that you don't have a timeout.
Yes.
If it's a player that just ran, I don't know. I want to know this, so we got to get some people on that because that is as boneheaded of a play or a decision as you can possibly manage to lose a basketball game.
But don't you think, Oj, in that situation, take your team, if they're inbounding the length of the court, have your guys go stand in the far corner so you don't get a cheap foul. I mean, I guess the one thing I would do from a coach on the other side of it, I'd try to run some people around, maybe get a foul. But, just get your guys out of the way. Have them nowhere near it. They can't beat you. But anyway, I digress. Another passing of a musical legend.
Yeah, and speaking of our boy Jesse from Appleton there, that's kind of a big loss for him. He's a deadhead. There's no doubt about it. I don't know. I'm a moderate Grateful Dead fan. I can listen. They're easy to listen to.
Yeah, they're if they're on, you're not changing the channel.
Yeah, they play their stuff, and it's I couldn't do it daily or for hours on end, but I do like them. I played Ripple. We had that on listened to the lyrics a while back, but I think it's probably the final living member, or the last living member of the Grateful Dead passed away. The great Bob Weir, great musician, and he was the co-founder along with Jerry Garcia. They got that thing going in the '60s. Co-wrote a ton of Grateful Dead songs. So he's had the big mustache, and hell of an artist. So he died yesterday. So to all the deadheads out there, we're thinking of you.
Okay. We got a really special Mark Leaf tip of the cap today.
Very cool.
Very cool one that hits home for all of us here. We had former Calumet Copper King, former Michigan Tech Husky, Todd Storm on here a couple summers ago. Different coaching carousel with him. He was at Michigan for a while, Central, in the NFL. I think he was over doing NFL Europe stuff this year. And he recently got a new job.
Was he 2 years NFL Europe or just 1 year?
I think last year.
Maybe 1 year.
I think just 1 year.
He was
over
with Washington for a few years there in the
Yep.
NFL, and then we find out he's been hired by Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah,
So he'll be in the SEC, working with the offensive line. So very cool. Happy for him. I'm sure he's glad to get back into the States and a new challenge for Stormy.
Yeah, that is awesome. Sent him a couple texts. I'm sure he's busier than heck, but Mark Leaf, tip of the cap to Todd Storm.
Design to Construct is a full-service commercial design and construction company located in Jackson, Wisconsin, dedicated to creating personalized building solutions to meet our clients' goals. Our lasting relationships with past customers truly help set us apart from any other design-build company.
Northern Arizona update.
God dang it, eh?
Tough week for them. I got to be honest with you. I usually try to follow them, at least listen on the radio. I did not watch either of these two games. Thursday night was the Tech Northern basketball game, and then the college football playoff, and then yesterday they had another game, and we were working, and then you had NFL games. But the Lumberjacks dropped a 78-65 game to Weber State on Thursday, and then a real tough one to the Vandals of Idaho State yesterday, 81-79.
Yeah, I was keeping track of the scores. It was a 2-point game at half, kind of a back and forth game. That was certainly one they could have and probably should have won. But they're in a little bit of a hole right now. They got to dig themselves out of this and start putting together some W's. But certainly yesterday's loss hurt for sure. Hey,
Yep.
Puppy's here.
This week they're hitting the road. They'll be at Sacramento State on Thursday, and then they're traveling to Portland State on Saturday. So best of luck to Coach Burkhardt and getting those Lumberjacks back in the W column there. Okay, Oj, we got an interview today for Crouchy's Corner. Another person synonymous with athletics in the UP, and I don't know that if you know this young man as well, but you would know his father. the other night. He was able to sit down with a Kingsford native, former standout football player at Michigan Tech, Nelson Weinke. Played on some really, really good Michigan Tech teams. Last playoff run and such, and then you would know his dad Hans over the years like that. So let's hear what Nelson Weinke had to say. All right, Nelson. Well, thanks for joining us here today at SS3TP, and we'll ask you what we ask all of our guests. Have you ever actually listened to this podcast?
I have had the luxury of listening in to you guys, you and Crouch. It's always a great joy. I fell off the bandwagon there a little bit here as of late, but I binged a few on my travels here last week and got to hear Oj complaining about the Brewers with Fronte on, so that was quite fun. But yeah, kudos to Anthony Santi for introducing me. So
yeah, he has that knack for bringing people together.
Yes, he does. So.
Well, for those who may not know, Nelson's a Kingsford Flivver, had a great football career at Michigan Tech, proud Uper, comes from a big-time sports family in the UP, known from one end of the UP to the other. Sometimes it's because his dad made a bad call, but really good to have you here, Nelson. And let's kind of jump into this. You grew up around sports from a little kid's age, right? Your dad Hans is a well-known official throughout the Upper Peninsula and in through Wisconsin for that matter. I've known your dad for, I'm going to say 100 years. You and both of your brothers, great athletes at Kingsford, all played at Michigan Tech. But talk a little bit about the experience as a young kid tagging along to games and what kind of experiences you got there.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, my dad was an official, and he did basically any sport under the sun for all those years. And I got the benefit of going along with him. You go do a varsity game in Westwood, and I'd drive along, tag along with him, and get to be the ball boy. And kudos to the coaches for allowing some random refs kid on the sideline, but that just really instilled the love of sport for me. If it wasn't football, it was wrestling. Towel boy at tournaments, all day tournaments. On Saturdays with him at these high school events, and just got to really see what the whole UP community and sports was about, and just grew up loving it. Wouldn't trade that for the world. Some of those memories are some of the best times I ever had, and then get to go see him and his buddies afterwards too, maybe a little bit at Bimbo's for some pizza. But always a good time up there. Well,
we always had your dad and his crew. That was a good crew of guys, and they always made sure they had at least one game up in Lake Linden, and they were big participants at the fifth quarter, which I always respected and enjoyed visiting with them after, when you can just kind of hang out in a different environment. And sometimes they stayed for a fifth and sixth quarter as well. So I don't know how they ever made any money, but it was always a good thing when those guys came to town, win or lose. We were always going to hang out and talk about the game, and not for that matter, talk about other sports throughout the UP. But a real good crew of guys. One of your brothers got involved with officiating. We had him down the road here too. I think the last game I ever won as a head coach, your brother was doing that playoff game as well. But let's kind of transition into that a little bit. You got two other brothers. Talk about that growing up. You being the oldest, and then you got a couple younger brothers that you can bounce around a little bit. And all of you guys played at Kingsford, went on to Tech, but growing up in that athletic arena like that. Talk a little bit about having some brothers.
Yeah. Again, wouldn't trade that for the world. Growing up, we're a big sports family, not just me and my brothers, but all of our cousins and stuff. I can remember holidays, getting ready for the Turkey Bowl and Christmas Bowl, playing out in my grandma's yard against my cousins, and all those cousins all went on to play college sports in their own respective sports. So there's just a very innate sports psychology in our bones growing up. So it led to some competitive afternoons. We'll say that. A lot of beating up on each other, a lot of wrestling and you name it. But never lost a fight until probably later on in college when they all started getting bigger than me. So, but
Well, good thing Dad was a referee.
yes, he definitely had to intervene a few times. That's for sure.
You know, and as you grow and get older, you move up and you get to play for the Flivvers. You know, one of the premier programs in the Upper Peninsula, and you guys had success there, obviously with great coaches, great community. Talk about your time growing up when you finally got to play for the Flivvers, and what type of experiences you take away from those days.
Yeah, I mean, again, like going to the games with my dad. You know, they'd bring us to these football games at Flivver Field, growing up, and you know, we'd be playing football out on the side underneath the bleachers and whatnot, just dreaming of the days that you can get under the lights yourselves and get in the big show. You know, it was just anything I can do to get there. I wanted to do. So, you know, that starts off in Pop Warner football. You just getting used to it. You're figuring things out, you know, putting the pads and stuff on for the first time. You know, there was a pretty good league for us there locally. And then, you know, you start getting into middle school sports and start getting into these school organized sports, and you know, hopefully getting some success and getting used to being coached by somebody that's not a dad. You know, it's Mr. Navarra for our basketball team. You know, and then you're getting into the programs, getting into weightlifting. You know, I was never a very strong or fast individual growing up, but I tried. I tried to keep up with the likes of Cole Welch and others there at Kingsford. So, you know, having that good instilled mentality throughout all the sports and having the hard work and stuff implemented at an early age really led to me excelling on the field, right? You know, I can't begin to name all the coaches there that I had that helped me along the way. Mr. Navarre, I mentioned him already, was probably one of the hardest practices I ever had. In middle school basketball, we didn't get reserved gym time, so we had to run gassers in the hallway between the two schools, the middle school and the high school. And it was on, you know, the linoleum stone concrete floor. I tell you what, that was one of the hardest practices I've ever had, just an hour and a half of running back and forth. But it paid off. We were undefeated that year, and I won't tell you about the rest of the basketball career that I had, but when you start playing the likes of Jay Daniels and he's drop stepping two-hand and dunking over you, there's not much you can do. But yeah, getting back to the football grid here, you know, had a good freshman and junior year, or sophomore year rather. You know, won a few games, started both ways, both those years, and then got to varsity my junior year, and was lucky enough to establish a starting position there on the offensive line for tight end. And one of the few, you know, Kingsford has these larger rosters, or did at the time, and it was hard to get up there on the varsity squad. So I was fortunate to have that opportunity and make my way onto that starting squad. And we had a very good year that was unfortunately ended. I think one of your previous guests, Mr. Lindholm, had a story about that I didn't really appreciate too much, but that was a tough one. But yeah, and then senior year, kind of same thing, started both ways. And around that time is when Mr. Hofer approached me and was like, "Hey, you ever thought about running track?" And I was like, "Well, no, not really." He's like, "Well, you probably should. It'd look good, you know, it'd help you with your running and everything, and you can lift and do strength conditioning." And so I did that, and I think that really, you know, excelled me and put me into the next spot. And that's when Mr. Curley came knocking. So again, fortunate for having those coaches growing up, having likes of Coach Hofer and all those guys, Mr. Wilsius, Doug Roberts, Beaver Ettinger, all those guys were integral into making me the athlete that I was, and basically got me to that next step.
Well, let's talk about a couple memories. One of the things that we talked about with the way the landscape of the UP has changed. The Iron Mountain Kingsford rivalry was second to none in the UP, right? I mean, that's days gone past at this point and water over the dam. But talk about maybe those Kingsford Iron Mountain games, because you guys had some battles, or maybe other games that just stick out to you that you remember, maybe a great win or tough loss or whatever. But you definitely got to play in some big games with the Flivvers, and we're usually on center stage for the whole UP to see.
Yeah, those games unfortunately aren't held anymore, for whatever reasons. But the ones that we did have were battles. On my first year in varsity, it was that 47-0 loss, so not much of a battle, but one of those ones that sticks out in our minds. Like, it was just a mega massive win, and one of my good friends actually made the shutout saving tackle in the last minutes there to keep that one at a shutout. So the senior year game against Iron Mountain was actually one of my favorite, but also worst losses of my career. It was middle of October, I remember. So we're practicing during the week, and it's decent out. It's not cold, not too hot, but all of a sudden Saturday comes around, and the Iron Mountain Kingsford game was always played on a Saturday. So, the whole town would show up. There'd be people lined up all around the fences. Stands would be packed. Such a great atmosphere. And this particular game ended up being like 85 degrees out on a Saturday in October. And I tell you what, that was one of the most exhausted games I've ever had at the end of it. I ended up scoring 2 touchdowns in that game, but one of the field goals, extra points, I think it was the second extra point, I was the backup long snapper, and our long snapper was out for the week for certain reasons. And so I was his backup long snapper, and I'm supposed to go in there. Well, I just caught a 69-yard touchdown pass. And again, I told you before, I'm not very fast, so it took me a while to get down there, and I was dying. And I was like, I can't snap. Like, the last snap, I almost passed out when I did it. Like, I remember snapping it and like falling forward and catching myself, and like, oh, that wasn't good. So long story short, we missed the extra point. We're down by, we end up down by an extra point, and we ended up losing by 1 point. But, in the grand scheme of things, looking back, it was such a hard-fought game. It was such a fun game. It was just one of those instant classics that people talk about, and people are still talking about to this day. And unfortunately, we lost that. And I know Paulie was on here saying that, he never lost a game to Kingsford, and yeah, that was one of them, because he was playing that game. So, yeah. And as far as any other games that ring a bell that are memorable, obviously I mentioned the one down in where was that? It was against Marine City. It was at a neutral field, and that was the Phantom Catch game. That was my junior year. Again, another kind of classic. They had the infamous Phantom Catch, where the guy kind of just carried it through and tossed it out the back of the end zone and never had control, and the referee gave him the touchdown for it. And that kind of derailed our momentum and put us down a touchdown, and they ended up I think hanging up one more on us. So we ended up losing that one by 2 scores. But
I remember that game is going to be ingrained in my memory. I was not at it, but I saw the video, and then obviously Ludlam had a great view of that play on there. And usually we are on the sides of officials here, but that was a tough call right there. That's going to probably be on the Mount Rushmore of bad calls in the history of UP sports, especially with the magnitude of that game.
Yeah, yeah, and they went on, and I think they won the state title that year, Marine City, and credit to them. They had a good team. That Brandon Kay, he went on to play D1 football as a quarterback. So um, another one was Chippewa Valley, Chippewa Hills. Um, Down at their place, it rained the whole way on the bus. We take the coach buses down there. We drove down there. It was raining all day. We went into the locker room. After we got there, we did our field walk a little bit, went into the locker room, came out fully dressed, and there's 2 inches of snow on the ground. It's like, this is going to be a mess. So we're out there. It was so bad. Like, gloves didn't work. You just had to take your gloves off and try to handle the ball. We couldn't even really run because it was so sloppy. So we were passing more or less than we were running because we couldn't move the ball otherwise, which as a UP team running the wing T, that's not typical. Like, we're not an air raid team. And yeah, that was just a classic game. I remember there's pictures of that. Our brand new white jerseys are just filthy. They look brown by the end of it. It was a fun one. And, obviously we secured the win and had that nice, joyous ride back to the UP. So.
Okay. So let's transition then. You have great prep career at Kingsford, and you're going to make the decision to go on and play at the next level. And talk a little bit about what went into your decision to go to Michigan Tech.
Yeah, again, I wasn't like this prolific athlete coming out of high school. I didn't have the measurables. I wasn't strong. I don't think I actually got a 225 bench rep at all at any visits that I went to, and wasn't the fastest guy on the field, but I worked hard. I had a frame. I think people saw that, hey, we can probably build this kid into something. Had a couple offers for some D3 schools, some walk-on opportunities, and other opportunities in like Northern and stuff like that. But ultimately, I kind of knew I wanted to be an engineer. So when Curly came and offered me a spot on the team, and I couldn't pass it up. It was too good to be true, and the program that they had there was just known for pumping up good, solid athletes, and even better careers. I got to follow in the likes of Anthony Santi and Steve Short and all those great Kingsford football players that had gone up there. Klingle Hutz too had gone up there. That's kind of where I wanted to be coming out of high school, and thankfully, I got that opportunity from Coach Curley and the staff up there. So,
okay, we'll talk about that transition. Right, it's playing a high level football at Kingsford, transitioning into the GLIAC, which is, we all know, is as tough as they come. How were the first part of that time at Tech, and then obviously that transition to one hell of a career by the time you got done. So talk about how it goes from being kind of the guy that played all the time to now transitioning into the college game, and what you had to, some of the challenges that you faced there.
Yeah, I guess, the biggest thing is just the speed of the game, right? You go from, and you kind of see it when you're transitioning from freshman to JV to sophomore or to varsity and in prep schools. But that step from the high school game to the college game is just crazy. And obviously I've never done the college to pro, but I can't imagine that step as well. But yeah, you just get there, you're showing up first day, and it's like, wow, these guys are men that I'm going against. I'm just this wiry kid from small school in the UP, and now I'm playing with these athletes, 4-year, 5-year guys at the college level, and they're just huge. My first year playing scout defense, we had an O-line at that point that I still have nightmares about. You got the local legend Josh Fronte on there, obviously Anthony Santi, and Anthony was the smallest guy on that line. And like looking at him, and you're like, this is not going to end well. but we had great coaches that made sure that we were held responsible, and we're trying to give them the best look that we could. And coming in there my freshman year, Coach Klein was our coach, and got to learn some great movement stuff from him, and he kept us kind of focused. I remember that first early camp. We're sitting in the back of the meeting room, and our defensive front coach was leading the meeting. I think it was Josh Hager at the time, and Klein's in the back of the room, like handing out candy to the freshmen, because we're just like back there looking at wounds, getting beat up all day. And it was just like that little bit of kindness kind of got us through a little bit. I remember sitting in the dorm room in that first week or two, and just being exhausted. And Dan Perot, my roommate from Lons, he was saying to me, he's like, "Dude, do you feel as bad as I do?" I was like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "I think I'm gonna quit." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "But I don't want to walk up the hill to go tell Curly." I was like, "Yeah, me neither. Let's forget about it. We'll keep going." And of course, we both had pretty good careers up there, so we're fortunate we didn't do that. But
yeah, it's probably a wise decision on both of your parts that calmer heads prevailed on that day.
Yeah, it was just like, we're too exhausted to go do it, so let's forget about it. We'll be all right. But yeah, glad we got through there, because in the next coming years we were both starting to see some playing time. We were both also fortunate to have such great mentors on the D line and D front ahead of us. I had Todd Storm and Drew Vanderlyn to look up to and see how they, took care of themselves, took care of their business, made sure that people were doing the little things right. That was something that we always instilled from day one of my time there as a freshman all the way through when I graduated. You do the little things right, and it really comes from the top down. And I was fortunate enough to have Drew and Todd there to kind of guide me in that aspect. And, that led to 5 or 6 years of dominant D-line play, D-front play. And, very fortunate to have that. Moving on, like after Klein stepped away there for a bit, because I think he went to go coach his kids as they were going through high school. We had some interesting coaches come through after that. The one that always comes to the front of the mind is Coach Klingbeil. I remember him coming up the first day that he was on campus. It was early morning running. We had moved it to early afternoon running because it was so nice outside in the spring, and we thought it would be better than waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but it wasn't. Coach Kling comes walking up in his high socks and greased up hair, his Oakley's on, and we're like, "Who is this clown? What the hell's going on here?" And Todd sitting next to me, he goes, "Oh, we're in trouble." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "No, if that's who I think it is, we're in trouble." It's like, oh boy. And so, yeah, we were introduced to Klingbeil that day, and yeah, he ended up becoming the D-line coach, and my brain will probably never be the same.
Yeah, and again, he's another one synonymous with football and the UP. And then you progress into starting role, great career, postseason honors, all that. Talk about some of the great memories, great games that you guys got to play. You said you guys had a lot of success there at the end of your career, and what are some of the things you take away from those times?
Oh man, the games themselves were what you played for, right? But all the hard work that went in with your buddies, your best friends, on the field, beforehand, in the weight room, those are kind of the moments that I remember the most. Obviously, the field goal kicks at the end of the game by Garrett Meade to put us over the top against Wayne State and Northern our last year are just epic games. Running across the field, helmets flying, people, jerseys flying, just can't never forget those moments. But going back to working out on the field in the summer with guys, putting the hard work in, sweating it out with them. Those are kind of some of the best memories. One great one, we're on the field in the summer, and we're doing some workouts with Clean Bile. We're doing like neck workouts, trying to strengthen our neck and whatever. And he's got me on this table, like a trainer's table, and we're doing net workouts. We got a towel wrapped around our head, and he's pulling down on it, and you're trying to resist, and doing that sort of thing. And coach starts yelling for Todd, you're next, Todd. And Todd didn't answer. And Drew Vanderlyn goes, Coach, Todd left. He's like, what? Todd! And he starts yelling, and Todd's standing behind him, just laughing, not saying anything. And he keeps reefing on my neck and doesn't stop counting. And I literally just kept going, like, okay, is this going to end soon? And it went on for probably a minute and a half or so. And he's just reefing on this thing. And I'm just like, what the hell's going on? I was like, Coach. And then finally Todd spoke up. He's like, Coach, I'm right here. And I got off that table and I could not move my head. It felt like a balloon. I was just like, and Drew's just laughing his ass off because he's like, oh yeah, we got him good on that one. But things like that, Kling had some elbow surgery one off season, and he comes back in, he's got this sling on, and Todd looks at him and goes, hey coach, nice purse. And Kling gets all pissed off. He rips off the sling. He's like, that's not a purse. And he throws in the garbage. We're like, coach, put the sling back on. You're gonna hurt it. He's like, oh no. And then, a week later, he's in there pumping iron in the gym with us. It's just like those little moments they seem like at the time like such a non-big issue, but those are the ones that stick with you. So anyways.
Okay, so I do have one question to ask you from a certain person. I won't mention that person's name, but
oh boy,
as you get into your D-line room, is it true that Cam Allen was smarter than you?
100%. Yeah, I'm assuming a certain coach may have told you to ask that one.
I am not going to throw Coach Thomas under the bus.
Yeah. Yes. No. Dr. Allen is definitely smarter than my lowly civil engineering brain. He was always the guy that did everything right by the book. He didn't always make the play, but he was always going to fit it up correctly, and then let the defense, do what it needs to do. And I would sometimes go rogue and just try to blow things up because I could see a nuanced thing coming. But yeah, Mr. Allen, Dr. Allen, definitely smarter than myself. And yeah, that's good. That's good.
Now you've been out for a number of years. Successful career right now. A wife that's way too beautiful for you, but that's a story for another day. Talk a little bit about living out of the area now, and then still trying to be in touch with the pro. You're still very active with getting back for games, golf outings, whatever you can to help the kids. So talk a little bit about that from, the coming in as a freshman to now being an adult, living your life and trying to give back to the program.
Yeah, and the sports accolades and all that stuff that we did up there was always secondary to the school, right? We were student athletes, emphasis on the student, and we worked hard, and thankfully we did, because that allowed us, to go on and have great careers. And luckily enough, I was fortunate to get one coming out of college, and ended up here down in Minneapolis, and started working. And I moved to the area without really knowing anybody that was here, but that quickly changed. Michigan Tech was coming down for a hockey tournament. I can't remember what conference tournament it was at that time, but I just, I was like, well, I'm going to go show up and see what's going on here. maybe I'll run into somebody. And I'm standing in line at the will call to get my ticket, and all of a sudden I hear this guy screaming, "Indy, 2-for-1s." And I'm like, I recognize that voice. And I look up, and here's Anthony standing over the top of the will call. There was a bar there, and he's looking right at me, I swear, with 2 beers in his hands. And I'm like, huh. And I look over, and here's his wife Mindy standing next to me. So I lean over, and he goes, "Oh, Weinke." And then that was it. All of a sudden, now I knew everybody that was ever at Tech that was in Minneapolis. And so there's a great assortment of old Tech guys that live here now, and we've gotten together and formed a softball team. We play softball during the summers, and got text threads going, and there's always somebody going up to a football game. "Hey, you guys want to go up?" It's like, absolutely. And I try never to pass those opportunities up when I can. And then as of lately, as you know, the golf tournament has brought an emphasis of coming up for at least one weekend of the summer. So I'm sure I will never miss that, as long as my darling wife, who you mentioned earlier, allows me to keep going up there. But yeah, it's very nice to be able to have kind of that pride and group of guys here that you can talk about it with, and thankfully Michigan Tech set me up for a job in which I can afford to do that traveling and do those types of things for the program. It's just very thankful for all that I've been awarded here from Tech and everybody else. So
Well, we're getting a little short on time, but always a pleasure sitting down talking with you. It's always great to hear from people that live through the UP, and take great pride in it, like you do, and your entire family did. So thank you so much, Nelson, for sharing your story with us here at SS3TP.
yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Coach, let's hit the mailbag. A couple of questions here. Here comes the Judd, who you already mentioned. I haven't heard from him in a little bit, but
Owes me $10.
does he? Well, it should be 12 with interest. And he's got a question here for us, and I'm not really sure where to go with this. This really isn't geared towards you and I with our personalities, but what's the best one-liner comeback you said or heard from an opponent as a coach or a player? Did you deliver the line, or were you left speechless? Here comes the Judd.
There was a few that I could think of that would be probably not appropriate for the pod.
But you and I, neither one of us are.
Most of it's just stories that we've heard about other officials or coaches.
Boy, if this wasn't a PG show, we could tell the Gary Goda one.
Oh God, yeah. There's a couple with him.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell a story. It's really not from a player's side of it as far as talking smack, but it was a pretty good line. And it certainly has to do with coaching. So this goes back, you've heard the story. I mean, this is a classic. I'm going to leave out the official player's name to protect the innocent, or in his case, the guilty.
He's had enough drama.
So we're in the playoffs, Cal High School playoff game. I was still working with the JV at the time. So we're in the dome, and we're playing, I believe it was Whitmore Prescott. I think that's who it was. Doesn't matter, but anyway, so the first half was a tough one for one of our tight ends. Few opportunities for first down catches that he wasn't able to bring them in. So it was a tough half for this guy. And at that time we were running, Scott and Crows were running wing T.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had that going. So that was a lot of fun.
Layered handoffs, a lot of deception.
Yeah, so we're getting we're down, but putting together a drive at the end of the half, and Lundy and I are up in the dome there, up in the booth up top, and
boy, would it be great to have Lundy on the headset.
Well, here's what happens when he is. So we get down and
I thought you were going with a whole different story.
No.
Oh yeah,
So
this is classic.
So Bod's calls a timeout late, and we are able to set up one more play. I think we're at about the 12-yard line, and fourth down, seconds left on the clock before half. So Bods is out there in the field, sets up the play, guys run it, quarterback is rolling out, sets up, fires the back of the end zone. There's that tight end again that we had mentioned earlier. Right through his hands, incomplete, to the half we go. Well, Bods is obviously a little upset with the situation. So as he's taking his steps onto the field, my partner, Mr. Lund, decides to tell Bods through the headset, so let me get this straight. You use your last time out before the half, and all you can come up with is one more pass to the kid, the tight end. I won't say his name. Bods looked up at us. I couldn't believe it. I was just dying. I took that off. I was laughing so hard. But that's been told a few times. That was a good one.
Okay, I don't really have any good one-liners. I'm not much into the trash talk. I do have a good one-liner though. This goes back years. This is years ago. I was a young coach, and we were playing at home, and young official, and he calls a pass interference right in front of us, and we're like, and there was nothing to do with it. Like the guy came off the line, we're jockeying him, and he was running free, and they overshot him or something like that, and throws a pass interference flag, and we're like, what? How are you calling pass interference there? And he goes, well, coach, he hit him after the 5-yard chuck zone. So after the initial shock, we said this is not the NFL, right? In high school, you can hit them till the ball's in the air, and they did pick up the flag, but this poor young official was combining high school rules and NFL rules with the 5-yard chuck zone. So
That's good. Well, thanks, Judd.
yeah. All right, we got one more that just came in late in classic fashion.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much how he operates. This is Minneapolis Matthew. Greetings. Couple questions today. Croce, did you get excited when number 70 fumbled the ball forward? Seemed like a good way to get a first down when the offense was struggling. Comments? I don't even know what he's talking about.
I don't really either, but anytime you fumble it forward, it goes back to the spot of the fumble. But I appreciate the guy.
Which game?
I don't know.
Well, it had to have been the Packer game last night.
I have no idea.
Number 70 fumble. Yeah, I think it had to be in that Packer game, right?
Well, I appreciate a lineman trying to get, help the offense, but yeah, I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't either. And then he asked me, Woj, if you had to pick one song from Listen to the Lyrics playlist to listen to while you fall asleep, what would it be? Fortunately, I'm guessing most of these songs are pretty good to put people to sleep.
Yeah.
Not me. They're obviously it's a little bit different as far as my taste here, but I would have to say a nice, soothing song, end of the night. I should just do Chris Christopherson's "Lord Help Me Jesus."
There you go.
As a nice little way to end the day. Why me, Lord? What did I ever do to deserve?
Yeah. Please stop.
So, thanks, Matt. I wish we knew who the heck number 70 was. That's got to be the Packer game, but when things come in late, we don't have time to do any research to answer these questions, and that's not on us.
Yeah, get your act together, kid. Located 8 miles south of Lake Limerick on the Bojack Road, the Dreamland Restaurant's your choice for great dining. Family owned and operated for over 100 years. Whether you're in the mood for Mexican Monday specials, burger, pizza, or Friday fish fry, Dreamland's your next stop. We went up to Dreamland for dinner the other night.
Did you?
It was very good.
Hey,
Very good.
Speaking of that, the Tech Northern game the other night, I met with, met the farm came up with Todd and another guy that you hadn't met, and Gary's boy Christian came up to Mule with Eric Warchek, and Gary's boy Dusty came up from Green Bay, and there was a big crew. So we got a good crew at the Steve Aho was there. I don't know if you know Steve, but we were not the one from up here. It was the Ontonagon Colony, Steve Aho.
Okay.
But we met at Mine Chef prior to the Tech Northern game, and had a large thin crust pizza that we ordered there. Outstanding. Really good.
I do like the food there.
I mean, I've never had a pizza there. Actually, no, I did. I had a pizza during that birthday. that birthday party for that baby Indian. So, but I just wanted, that was really good. So kind of pushing the local businesses.
Yeah.
Very good pizza,
Maybe-
thin crust.
maybe we
Love
can-
the thin crust.
Maybe we can drive them out of business as well.
Anyway, it's Keith Whitley time this week. He's one of the greats whose career came to a tragic end much too soon. He started out as a bluegrass guy, and he was really close with Ricky Skaggs. Actually played in Bill Monroe's band for a while, I think as a teenager. So bluegrass roots for Keith Whitley. Then went into the country scene and put out a few albums. His biggest album was Don't Close Your Eyes, which was a hell of a song for him, by the way. That came out in 1989. But the fifth and final release off of that album was a song called I'm No Stranger to the Rain. And that was my favorite. The lyrics, I guess, kind of relate to the troubled, turbulent issues that he had in his life that ultimately caused him to die young. But that's my favorite song. He was really good in that maybe a 10-year span where he was putting stuff out there. But people in Kentucky and that knew him long before he was ever doing these country albums because of his bluegrass talents. So yeah, Keith Whitley, I'm No Stranger to the Rain. Anybody listening to country music in the 80s and into the 90s know this song.
That's a good tune, Oj.
Thank you.
I've heard that one before. I like it. Solid choice today. Thought maybe you'd go with the Grateful Dead song, but
Yeah,
late developments.
sure.
Big week. No college football.
No college football.
NFL playoffs today.
3 games today, and then we got Aaron Rodgers and the boys tomorrow against the Texans. Got any quick thoughts on today's games?
I'm not really sure. They have potential to be good games. Jacksonville is favored against Buffalo.
That spread is flip flopped.
I think that's
All
good.
week.
I think that could be a good game. Eagles, 49ers. I'm not sure what I'm thinking there. I think both of those teams could win. Both of them could lose.
That spread has changed also. I think the most recent one was San Fran is now +6.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's in Philly.
It's in Philly. Hard to trust Philly's offense to beat anybody by more than 6. So I think I would tend to lean. I haven't done anything yet, but I'm leaning San Francisco if that stays there. The Buffalo game, here we go with our unders again. That's like a 51, something like that, and a half over under. I do like the under in that Buffalo Jacksonville game. And I guess
17-14.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to pick against Buffalo, even though Jacksonville's been playing well. But if they're +1.5, don't you got to take Josh Allen in them?
Until Josh Allen is out of the playoffs, I have a hard time betting against them.
Yeah.
And then the Monday night game, Aaron Rodgers and the Texans. I think the Texans are gonna
Roll.
Yeah, I just think that the Steelers are gonna struggle to score points on that defense.
And then tonight we got our Chargers, right? Chargers and who the hell are they playing? Patriots.
Patriots.
Yeah, so that could be interesting too.
Yeah, not sure how.
Did you see what Drake May bought his lineman?
I did not.
This was a little bit of help from Minneapolis Matthew too. Sent this along the way. Well, first of all, you see where Rodgers got his lineman.
Did he get him like ATVs or
Yes,
something?
bought them all side by
Side by sides.
Yeah. So there's been some cool things over the years with these quarterbacks treating their linemen to big time dinners or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Drake May bought each of his linemen a sauna.
Wood fired or
Well,
electric?
that's the thing. I don't know if it's one of those little infrared deals that Drummy was sitting in last night with his bride, but
David W. sits in his phone booth a lot too.
yeah, so I don't know if it's that, which if it was, that's probably not legit.
Barrel sauna?
But if he bought, 8 barrel saunas from UP and have them shipped down to, now we're getting somewhere down to Foxborough, right?
I do like that move.
So, very cool. Looking forward to the football today. Who knows when we'll be back.
See you, Oj.
Talk to you later, Coachy.